People spend years of their lives running after people who were never running toward them. They exhaust themselves trying to convince someone to stay, trying to make someone understand, trying to force connections that were never meant to survive beyond a season. And the tragedy is that most people don't realize this until they've already drained the best parts of themselves trying to make someone else see their worth. But here's the truth. The world avoids saying not everyone you love is meant to remain. Not everyone you choose is meant to choose you back. And not every connection that feels strong is actually healthy. The world teaches you that relationships are something you should fight for. But it never teaches you that sometimes the fight is the problem. Sometimes the act of fighting for someone becomes the exact thing that destroys you. Sometimes clinging becomes the enemy. Sometimes chasing becomes self-betrayal. And the people who struggle the most with letting go are usually the ones with the biggest hearts, the ones who believe every bond can be fixed. Every wound can be healed, every person can be understood if you just love them harder. But there comes a moment in every emotionally mature person's life where something finally cracks. Inside them, a moment where they stop begging for loyalty. Stop requesting effort. Stop chasing people who respond with silence. That moment is painful, but it is also the beginning of peace. Because peace is not something you find. It is something you choose. Peace requires decisions that your heart resists. Decisions like walking away from someone you still care about. Decisions like setting boundaries with someone you once let break you. Decisions like putting your mental health above your emotional attachment. Decisions like choosing yourself in situations where you were trained to choose others. And choosing peace is difficult. Not because peace is complicated, but because chaos is familiar. When you grow up believing that love must hurt, you stop recognizing love when it's gentle. When you grow up thinking loyalty means tolerating disrespect, you start accepting scraps as affection. When you build your identity around being needed, you forget how to exist without proving yourself. That is why chasing people feels natural. It gives you a mission, a sense of control, a sense of purpose. But peace is not about control. Peace is about alignment. Peace is about letting the right people stay by themselves instead of saving them. Peace is about allowing distance to reveal who truly values you. Peace is about understanding that your worth was never meant to be proven through exhaustion. And if you truly want to understand why chasing people never leads to peace, you must look at the one place where history reveals this pattern with painful clarity: the story of Emperor Ashoka. Before he became one of the most peaceful leaders in world history, Ashoka spent years chasing validation through conquest, power, and the approval of people who feared him, not loved him. He believed that if he conquered more lands, more people would admire him. If he defeated more kingdoms, he would finally feel fulfilled. In reality, he was running after illusions. He was chasing emptiness disguised as achievement. And it wasn't until the Kalinga War, a victory that cost thousands of innocent lives, that he finally confronted a truth he had been avoiding. You can win the whole world and still lose yourself. The battlefield he walked through that day changed him forever. Not because he lost, but because he realized he had been chasing the wrong things. He understood that peace is not the reward for conquest. Peace is the reward for inner clarity. After that moment, Ashoka stopped chasing the world and started choosing peace, compassion, and alignment. And his legacy transformed from fear to respect, from violence to wisdom, from chaos to harmony. Asterisk, the same shift happens in your life when you stop chasing people who are not aligned with your soul. When someone wants to stay, you don't have to run after them. When someone values you, you don't have to repeat your worth. When someone genuinely cares, you don't have to beg for effort. People who truly choose you will come closer, not drift away. People who have a place in your life will remain consistent, not conditional. People who genuinely hold space for you will meet you halfway without making you feel like you're too much. But you cannot see these people, the ones who are meant for your future, till you stop draining your energy on the ones who are only meant for your past. Asterisk. Chasing people steals your peace because it activates a belief inside you that says, I am not enough unless someone else confirms it. But peace begins the day you rewrite that belief. Peace begins when you say, I don't chase, I attract. I don't force, I flow. I don't beg. I choose. And when you choose yourself, something powerful happens. Your life shifts. People who were never meant to stay quietly fade out. People who were draining you lose interest because they can no longer use your energy. People who are confused suddenly become irrelevant. People who were inconsistent stop mattering. And the ones who are meant for you start appearing not because you chased them, but because peace creates space for better connections. People misunderstand peace. They think peace means softness, weakness, avoidance. But peace is a strength that comes from emotional maturity. It takes more courage to walk away than to chase. It takes more self-respect to remain silent than to argue. It takes more discipline to hold boundaries than to tolerate disrespect. It takes more wisdom to protect your energy than to give it to everyone. Peace is not passive. Peace is power. Peace is clarity. Peace is self-control. Peace is choosing your mental health over your emotional impulses. Peace is looking at someone who once shook your entire world and saying, I wish you well, but not at the cost of myself. When you stop chasing people, you start healing. You start noticing your own worth instead of waiting for others to validate it. You start recognizing who deserves access to your heart instead of offering it to anyone who shows temporary interest. You start understanding that attention is not affection, consistency is not convenience, and energy is not obligation. You start seeing relationships as choices rather than necessities. You stop allowing desperation to disguise itself as love. You stop confusing attachment with compatibility. You stop fearing loss because you finally realize that anything built on fear was already unstable, and slowly, gently, something changes inside you. A quiet confidence begins to grow. The kind that doesn't need approval. The kind that doesn't panic when people leave. The kind that doesn't break when someone withdraws. The kind that doesn't crumble when someone chooses someone else. The kind that knows if losing me doesn't hurt them, then they never deserved me. And from that moment forward, you stop chasing people because you finally understand that your peace is worth more than anyone's presence. You reach a point in life where your soul becomes tired, not tired in a dramatic, collapsing on the floor way, but tired in a quiet, heavy way. The kind of tired that makes you stop mid-conversation and think, why am I still trying to prove my worth to people who don't even see it? The kind of tired that makes you rethink every relationship where you were the one keeping the connection alive. The kind of tired that makes you withdraw, not because you're upset, but because you're finally seeing things clearly. There comes a moment when your heart understands something your mind has been avoiding for years. That peace is more valuable than being included. That self-respect is more important than attention. And that solitude is better than running after people who treat you like an option. And it's in that quiet moment of clarity that your transformation begins. You begin to notice the patterns. How certain people only call when they need something. How certain friendships only survive when you're the one doing the emotional heavy lifting. How certain relationships only feel stable when you silence your needs, your feelings, your boundaries. You start realizing how many times you have lowered your standards just to keep someone in your life. How many times you've waited for a text that never came. How many times you forgave behavior you never would have accepted from yourself. And suddenly, you're not angry, you're simply done. Done chasing people who don't choose you. Done fighting for space in someone's life. Done explaining your worth to people, committed to misunderstanding it. Done trying to be relevant in stories you were never meant to belong to, because when you chase people, you shrink. You shrink your needs, your heart, your time, your confidence. You shrink your identity until you no longer recognize yourself in the mirror. You mold yourself into versions that make you easier to accept, easier to love, easier to keep, but the price is always your peace. And the cruelest part? The more you chase, the faster people run. Not because they're better than you, not because you're lacking, but because people don't value what they don't have to earn. Effort that comes too easily is taken for granted. Love that bends too freely is rarely appreciated. People only respect what they risk losing, and they cannot lose someone who has made themselves endlessly available. So you stop. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. Not because you no longer care, but because you finally care about yourself too. You stop chasing and you start choosing. choosing people who choose you, choosing spaces that make you feel safe, choosing a life where peace is not something you beg for, but something you protect. You start walking away from conversations that drain your spirit. You stop justifying why someone's inconsistency hurts you. You stop overgiving in relationships that only survive on your sacrifice. You stop explaining your worth like a salesperson pitching your soul. And in place of all that exhausting effort, you create room for calm, room for growth, room for the right people to enter without being dragged in. Because the truth is, peace begins where people-pleasing ends. Peace begins when you stop internalizing other people's lack of effort as your lack of value. Peace begins the moment you put boundaries around your energy the way you protect something sacred. Peace begins when you finally admit to yourself that some people aren't meant to stay, no matter how deeply you care, no matter how hard you try. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. Some people are mirrors, not partners. Some people are chapters, not the entire book. And forcing them to fit into your life only keeps you stuck in places you've outgrown. You start understanding that peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's the kind of power that doesn't scream for attention. It's the power of clarity, the power of detachment, the power of saying no more without drama. It's the quiet decision to walk away from what confuses you, what belittles you, what drains you, what betrays you, what makes you question your worth. Peace is the courage to protect your mental and emotional space, like a home with only one key, and not everyone deserves access. And when you choose peace, everything shifts. You stop texting first and start observing who reaches out when the effort isn't one-sided. You stop accepting half-love and start recognizing how deeply you deserve full love. You stop tolerating emotional crumbs and start acknowledging that you are always worthy of the whole table. You stop giving chances to people who repeat the same mistakes, and you start giving chances to yourself, to heal, to grow, to rebuild your life from a place of self-respect instead of desperation. Your world becomes quieter, softer, simpler. Not because you're alone, but because you stopped letting chaos disguise itself as connection. What surprises you most is how peaceful solitude can be when you're no longer using it as a punishment. When you stop chasing people, your mind starts clearing. You rediscover your own voice, your own desires, your own dreams that were buried under the noise of trying to keep others happy. You begin enjoying your own company. You learn that loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of connection. And if the people around you never made you feel seen, understood, valued, or safe, then being alone was never the problem. Staying with them was, and then slowly something beautiful happens. People start treating you differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. Because you're no longer the version of yourself who accepted the bare minimum. You're no longer the one who stayed silent to keep the peace. You're no longer the one who begged for closure, affection, or consistency. You become someone who knows what they bring to the table, and that energy is magnetic. You attract people who appreciate effort instead of avoiding it. You attract people who respect boundaries instead of testing them. You attract people who communicate instead of playing games. You attract people who recognize your worth without needing reminders. And most importantly, you attract peace because you chose it. And yet, even as you step toward peace, the world will try to pull you back into its noise. Because the world is addicted to chaos in ways it doesn't admit. People want access to you without earning it. They want your attention without deserving it. They want your emotional energy without giving anything in return. They want you to keep explaining, proving, justifying, defending, because as long as you do, they still have power over you. But the moment you stop chasing people, something extraordinary happens. The power returns to you. And at first it feels unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Because for years your identity was tied to how much you could give, how available you could be, how understanding you could remain. You were trained to believe that relationships survive through effort, even if you were the only one putting in that effort. But peace comes when you understand that real connections do not require chasing. They require choosing. Choosing what aligns, choosing what respects you, choosing what reciprocates your energy, choosing what nurtures your growth instead of draining it. But to fully understand this shift, Let me take you into a powerful historical example. One that shows that choosing peace isn't weakness. It's transformation. It's strategy. It's wisdom. It's the moment a person realizes that their energy is too valuable to waste on people who don't recognize it. Centuries ago in ancient Japan, there was an emperor named Go. Unlike other rulers who relied on armies and allies, he relied on conviction. He believed in vision, but his greatest weakness was that he kept trying to win people who did not want to be one. He kept trying to convince corrupt ministers, unfaithful generals, and divided nobles to support his reforms. And because he chased their approval, they used his sincerity as a weapon. They manipulated him, misled him, weakened him. Every time he reached out to them, they stepped back. Every time he gave them responsibility, they betrayed it. Every time he trusted them, they used it against him. Until one night, after a major betrayal, he finally understood the truth. You cannot build peace with people who benefit from your chaos. So he stopped chasing alliances. He stopped explaining his decisions. He stopped bending to keep people loyal. Instead, he chose peace, not by withdrawing from responsibility, but by withdrawing from those who divided him. He built new relationships, new circles, new strategies with those who wanted the same future he wanted. And even though his journey remained difficult, he gained something he never had before: clarity. The same thing happens to you when you stop chasing people who only drain you. Peace doesn't come from avoiding life. It comes from choosing where your life flows. The truth is, chasing people is a form of emotional self-punishment. You think you're fighting for the connection, but in reality, you're fighting for the validation you never received. You're fighting for the closure someone else refuses to give. You're fighting for a version of the relationship that only existed in your hope, not in reality. And that's why it exhausts you, because you're trying to hold together something that was never meant to stay together. You keep trying to convince people to value you instead of choosing people who already do. You keep trying to earn what should have been freely given. You keep trying to prove your worth to people who cannot even see their own. But the moment you stop, truly stop, everything changes. Your heartbeat slows. Your chest becomes lighter. Your thoughts become clearer. Your direction becomes visible again. Your spirit finally finds space to breathe. Because when you stop chasing people, you stop chasing pain. You stop chasing confusion. You stop chasing false hope. You finally return to yourself. And that is the moment your power begins to rebuild. Because peace is not passive. Peace is protection. Peace is discipline. Peace is self-respect. Peace is knowing you want something deeper than attention. You want alignment. Peace is choosing not to argue. Peace is choosing not to react. Peace is choosing not to sacrifice your inner world for someone else's temporary comfort. Peace is the highest form of strength a person can reach. People often misunderstand what choosing peace means. They think it means isolation. They think it means weakness. They think it means giving up. But choosing peace is not retreat. It's recalibration. It's deciding that your emotional energy is not a public resource. It's understanding that you cannot carry people who refuse to walk. It's realizing that you cannot teach loyalty to those who benefit from ambiguity. It's accepting that closure doesn't come from conversation, it comes from clarity. And clarity is what you gain when you stop running after those who keep running from you. Because chasing people traps you in the past. Choosing peace opens the door to your future. You will notice something surprising once you shift from chasing to choosing. People who ignored you suddenly notice you. People who undervalued you suddenly respect you. People who were distant suddenly move closer. People who were casual suddenly become concerned. People who were careless suddenly want to explain themselves. Not because they have changed, but because your absence exposed the truth they refused to see while you were present. People don't value what they don't fear losing. And when you stop chasing, they finally feel the loss. But the beautiful thing? By then, you won't even need them. Because choosing peace gives you something chasing people never gave you: yourself. This is your turning point. You are no longer someone who tries to bend to be accepted. You are no longer someone who sacrifices peace for company. You are no longer someone who explains yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You are no longer someone who begs for the bare minimum. You are no longer someone who breaks yourself to keep others whole. You are becoming someone else, someone stronger, someone calmer, someone clearer, someone grounded, someone who knows exactly who deserves access, and who doesn't. Someone who knows that peace is not found in people, it's found in choices. Your choices.